Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. This is High Strangeness in the Liminal Abyss, and I am your show host, SHETAN Noir. Now, my curious ones, what have you been up to? We are into the first week of January, and like many other parts of the United States and North America, we are getting the first blasts of winter. December was very, very mild. It was actually almost an extended autumn. But now winter is truly unveiling her misery, so to speak, with the snow, the ice, the cold, and the winds. And when I think about this, I think of how do the cryptid creatures adapt to these elements? Because winter, just like for humans, is a harsher time. There's very little food available unless you have stockpiled something, whether that's fruits and vegetables that were available in the fall, late summer months that they somehow stockpile and put away. Oh, Tigan wants to say hi. Okay, Tigan, you said hi. Now you can go lay down. Um, or do they hunt the deers, kill the deers, and stockpile the deer meat or rabbit meat or whatever else they have access to? Um, where do they shelter? A lot of farmers report finding lots of dead animal skeletons in outbuildings on their properties. Usually it's the buildings that are the farthest away from where the farmer and his family live, and usually has some type of easy opening into it, but is, I don't want to say well built, but insulated. It has a roof on it, it has all four walls intact. And the thought is that the Bigfoots or the dogmen or whatever drag the carcasses in there, and that's kind of where they hole up for the winter months. They stay in there during the daytimes when it's warmer, and then go out at night, do their hunting at night. Um, if it's close to a road, probably accessing roadkill, things of that nature. Um, Seems like we see more roadkill during the winter months when things are trying to cross the road and they get hit, and we never um, stop to collect the bodies. They usually just lay off to the side of the road. Or are the cryptid creatures migratory? Do they travel down south? Now, we know in natural occurring species like wolves, wolves can have up to a 50-mile range per day that they will possibly travel. So, if during the cold months, these cryptid creatures, which have longer legs than us, but we don't quite know their stamina level, their endurance level, their metabolism level of, how often they need to eat in order to fuel their big bodies, how far could they travel every day? So, a person running a marathon, let's say, or even a mini marathon. Let's say it's a 20-mile race. They will need lots of carbohydrates and proteins before and after the race to refuel their bodies. So, do these cryptid creatures, and let's focus on Bigfoot and Dogman, do they have a migratory path that they follow where they know that there are very good potential prey areas where they can hunt, drink from fresh water sources, maybe get access to, if not, animals like deer or rabbits, or, let's say ducks, geese, farm animals, goats, sheep, pigs. Um, are there food sources like edible nuts, berries, vegetables, fruits along their route that they can consume while traveling south? Now, with the way this year's winter weather patterns are going, it's been a very weird year. I personally can account that my lilac trees, from the time that I noticed them, which probably would have been like 3 years old, to now in my late 40s, have only ever bloomed in late spring, late May. And this year, for the first time ever, my lilac trees bloomed in late October and did so with a full blossoming. And the birds and the plants and the other animals are reacting to these strange weather patterns. But we're going to talk about that more after our commercial break, because we're going to hear from one of the sponsors of the shows right now. So, we were talking about the weird weather patterns that we have been having this year and how it might possibly be affecting known natural species and cryptid species. So, here where I live in Michigan, just this week, because the animals, the birds, the plants do not know what's going on, I'm hearing our local songbirds that do not migrate south for the winter. They stay here. Um, Here at my house, they have an abundance of sunflower seeds and corn to eat because we provide that for them. But they have been doing their spring mating calls. And we're in January. They shouldn't be doing this until April-ish, but I'm hearing the songs that normally I hear in springtime being done by the birds now. So the animals are very off scheduled with these weather patterns, which makes me wonder what the cryptids are doing. Are we going to have possibly more sightings of cryptids this winter because of the hot and cold, warm and cold, phenomenons that we're seeing with the weather patterns? Because food may be more available now. Nothing's freezing. It's all very attainable to readily eat. It doesn't have to be warmed up. Um, the deer are still able to graze in their normal grazing areas. So, is this going to change the route that these cryptid creatures take in order to have access to prey? Because if your creatures, like a deer, are not in the places that they should be, if they are 5 miles east, west, north, south of where the cryptid creatures think that they should be, then that is going to reroute the cryptids, because they're going to have to go find that food source now. So it is quite possible that we will be seeing more cryptids or more cryptid activity, more cryptid evidence of these creatures, because as the natural planet adapts to what the weather patterns are currently doing, the cryptid world has to adapt to that also. They have to go to where their food sources are. They have to go where their water sources are. They have to go where their known hiding spots are, that they have found and accessed probably for many generations of their bloodlines or their family groups, because the young learn from the old the trails to take, the paths to walk on, where to find food, where to shelter. Um, this is all learned behavior, and when they have to adapt to that, it changes their behavior patterns. And right now, I think is probably a better chance scenario for cryptozoologists, field researchers to actually get eyewitness accounts or firsthand sightings, field evidence, because with the weather having been warm, well, warm mud, warm surface areas leave footprints. And then if it freezes, yes, it will change the size of the track, possibly the shape of the track, but you still would have the track. And if you collect the surface material from where the footprint was placed, as in you collect, after you've documented the footprint, you collect that surface material that would have made contact with the creature's foot that has the eDNA in it. And then you can cast the track after that. It's important to remember to collect the eDNA first, then cast your track or your print. Otherwise, your eDNA is going to be absorbed into the cast and it's useless. So that's another thing to keep in mind if you're going out and doing field research. But this is probably going to be one of the better seasons for field investigators to go out and either have a sighting or collect evidence, because the cryptid creatures are following the natural creatures' patterns of behavior. So if the deer are still staying in certain fields because they have access to leftover corn or hay, um, garden beds, orchards where fruit has fallen on the ground and has not spoiled yet, has not frozen yet, and is still readily able to be consumed, then that means that the cryptid creatures are going to have to go find those deer, which is a food source, and go to where the deer are to eat them. Whereas maybe in years past, it would have been the deer are where the cryptids normally find them and hunt them. So it'll be interesting to see how many um, reports the Bigfoot community gets and the dogman community gets and the cryptid community as a whole gets of new evidence or new sightings that have taken place in the winter of 2024. And it'll be interesting how to see how the weather patterns affect spring, and going into summer. Is this going to be a very rainy season? Because if that's true, if it's going to be a very rainy spring and summer, then that is going to restructure how much fruit and hay and vegetables are available to be harvested next fall. So when weather patterns are off, it creates a issue within the natural world, and that affects the cryptid creatures. So just something to ponder while you guys are out there looking for the next great evidence. So go out there and be curious, everyone. And until next week, go explore.